let's go over some of the assignments you guys turned in. And these do belong to the class, so we are going to be kind to them. But there are some pretty consistent mistakes. So what I've done is I have pulled writings that are pretty typical for what the class is turning in, and we're going to go over them together. By the end of this workshop, you're going to have to be able to identify what the problems are and fix them. And that is going to be a graded quiz. So make sure that you are paying attention. And if you need to, rewind and rewatch a section. So let's start with this. Menelaus is loyal. So this is my claim. Is it a good claim? Well, the questions there are, one, is it opinion-based? You can't have a claim that's a fact. So it does need to be an opinion. And the second one, is it reasonable based off of what we have read so far? So Menelaus is loyal. Is loyal an opinion? Yes. Is that reasonable given what we've been reading? I would say also yes. And you also want to make sure that a claim is clear. If it is confusing, if you have too much going on in it, then it's really hard to prove. So far, I really like this claim. It's very clear. It is an opinion. It is reasonable. So we're doing an awesome job here. Now, let's take a look at the evidence. I will tell you this did not get full credit on the evidence because it doesn't quite hit all the marks that we talked about in class, but let's take a look at it. Menelaus said that if Odysseus returned, he would have given a lot to him, including a town, and built a home for him where he could live, brought him from Ithaca with all his wealth, his son and his own people, and said that nothing would have separated them. Homer. So let's talk about what I like. First of all, I like that you do have a citation. You do need to make sure that you have that every time. I like that we are looking at direct quotes because you do want to make sure that you have quotes when you're doing evidence. So that's a really nice thing here. An even bigger one, does this evidence prove loyalty? And the answer is yes. So you do have this match between the evidence and the claim that it's trying to prove. So I love that. So that's looking really good. So what is it that this does that gets it into a little bit of trouble? First of all, easy stuff. Oh, you know what? I forgot to say one other thing. I like that this person knows how to alter a quote. You alter a quote by putting square brackets around the thing that you change to fix the grammar. So I also like that. Now I can move on. My handwriting's not the best. Now I can move on to things that really we might want to take a look at. First of all, look here. The period always has to go at the end of the citation. And the reason why is this period means that the sentence stops here. And if the sentence stops here, then the citation doesn't exist because it comes after the period. But we need that citation to exist, which means we need that period to happen at the end, not before. Now, let's get into slightly bigger problems. We have some awkwardness in here, and you could tell it when I read out loud. So, he would have given a lot to him. A lot is very low vocab. I should not see it at this level, so let's get rid of that. So, he would have given a lot to him, including a town. No. How about he would have given him a town and built a home for him. And then remember, quotes are supposed to be small. That right there is really enough quote. And then we would want to switch into that summary because remember, We want the focus to really be on how we're explaining the evidence. We don't want great big long quotes. So town and build a home for him is quite enough. And then let's get the rest of this into summary. So instead, what we're going to have is he would have given him a town and built a home for him so he could bring Penelope and Telemachus to live near Menelaus and his family. So I would have put this summary up here where you can see that I have crossed out because I don't want to have great big long quotes. And then this second quote would have fit nicely. And said nothing would have separated them. And so the length of the quote is going to be what really gives this a little bit of a not as great. So does this do a lot right? Absolutely. I love the claim. I love that it's an opinion. I love that it's reasonable. I love that it's clear. I love that this person knows how to change the grammar inside a quote. I love that they did cite it. I love that you do have quotes. All of these things are great. But again, make sure that the quotes are not too long. You want to keep it summarized as much as you can and just pull those little bits of quotes. And you really have to be careful with the vocabulary. I shouldn't be seeing things like lots, very, stuff. I shouldn't see that at this level. So I would say this is very close, but this needs a little bit of zhuzhing up to get full credit. So let's take a look at the next one. Here we have Calypso is fed up. So let's talk through what we're seeing in this claim. Question number 1, is this an opinion? Yep, of course it's an opinion, because whether she's fed up or not is not a fact, and if it's not a fact, it's an opinion. Second, is it reasonable given what it is that we've been reading? Yep. I would agree it is, because she is kind of fed up with the other gods. And of course, the third one, is it clear? Do we have one clear direction that we're taking this writing in? Yep. So far, with just looking at the claim, this is looking good. Now, let's go ahead and you read the evidence here, and then I'm going to talk you through, and we're going to decide whether this is well done. So, question number 1. Does this prove that she is fed up? Well, hopefully you said yes, because this is showing that she's pretty angry. Question number 2. Do you have unneeded quotes? So, is there any part of this evidence section that you could take out and you would still have a very good bit of evidence, a very nice proof that she's fed up? So look through here and tell me, what could we delete without weakening our argument? Okay, hopefully you spotted that whether her words had wings or not, a phrase that we're not even sure exactly what it means, because this phrase does not show her being fed up, it probably shouldn't be in there. The same thing is true down here. The fact that the sea is wine dark has nothing to do with her being fed up. So these two sections, because they really don't show her being fed up, they probably shouldn't be in there. So we can just go, Calypso was angrily stating that the gods have always taken away any love for mortals out of jealousy. And in this situation, the gods are envious because a mortal man lives there with Calypso after she saved the hero. So all of that is enough to prove that she's fed up. We can take the other bits out. So question number 3. Is each sentence cited? Do you have a citation on there? Of course you do. Every sentence has a citation, but bigger question, is it cited correctly? Yes, it is, because you have the period at the end, and the fact that you have no page number in there tells me that this student is looking at it online. So that is correct. So overall, this is a really well done bit of writing here. Now, does it have some extra information that doesn't need to be there? Yes. At this point, I'm unlikely to take any points off for that. It's still correctly cited. The quotes are still correctly embedded. It's just that sometimes it's hard to learn that less is more. So when you're trying to prove something, get right to the point. So this was really well done. So let's take a look at one that might have a little bit more trouble. First question, what are you thinking of the claim? Hopefully you identified that the claim is great. It's clear. It's got one driving force that you're going for, that you're going to prove arrogant. It's an opinion. It's reasonable based off the evidence. Awesome claim. So what are you thinking of the evidence? Let's go through and let me ask you a few questions. Number one, does the evidence prove arrogance? What do you think? This is a little bit tough because I can see that no other king could challenge his wealth. So a person could say, okay, well, that sounds arrogant. But Menelaus was exceptionally wealthy. We see all of his gold. We see that he's brought wealth back from Troy. So this might also be factual. So certainly, here's my problem. There are things that he does that are more arrogant than this. And so you're really not pulling the best evidence to prove arrogance. So minimally, it is suggesting arrogance. I'm just not sure that this evidence is strong enough to prove arrogance. Ready for another one? Question number 2. Is the evidence correctly embedded? If it is, what I'm going to see is that I have mostly summary, and inside this summary, I'm going to have these little bits of quote that I've pulled out of the story. So is this correctly embedded? Well, here is my, let me switch pens. Here's my quote. And my summary. Is that correctly embedded? No. It's not, because I don't really have enough summary here. So if I put more of my own summary in there, I now have Menelaus told Telemachus and I don't know how to say that, that when he compared himself to other mortal men who lived in ancient Greece, no other king could challenge his wealth because he was far more successful than anyone else. Now, once I add more of that summary in, now I get more of that where I'm mixing the summary sections. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Where I'm mixing more of these summary sections with little bits and pieces of quote. And that's what I need to have if I'm looking to correctly embed it. So this would improve how well the embedding is done just tremendously. So are you ready for another question? My next question is the citation correct? Well, what do you think? Yeah, hopefully you spotted the citation is a big problem because the period ends the sentence here. But if the sentence ends here, that means there's no citation on it. You can't have the period there because you have to include the citation before you end the sentence. So we do have some problems here. Could they be easily fixed? Yes, but we don't have the correct embedding because I don't have enough summary here. And if you notice, the minute I added more summary, all of a sudden it does start to sound more arrogant. So when you skip summarizing and there's not enough of your voice in that evidence, it is going to start not sounding as effective at proving your point. So let's take a look at our next one. Here we have Odysseus is a very brave and strong man. So let's talk about the claim. So 3 questions. Is this an opinion? Hopefully you said yes. Good, great, we're starting. Number 2, is it reasonable based on the reading? Yep, hopefully you absolutely said yes to that. Third one, is it clear? Okay, I am hoping you spotted that there is a little bit of a problem here in that we are trying to prove 2 different things. A person can be brave, but they're not strong enough to follow through. They can be very strong, but they can be a coward who runs away, which means these are 2 separate things, and we can only prove one of them at a time. Now, which is the evidence really trying to prove? Well, if you have a steadfast heart, that would tend to be brave. He's never seen a man to match Odysseus. It could be either one, so maybe we're talking brave. But then we pull strong in here before we do brave. It sounds like I've got more stuff for brave. So right now it's not clear. So what I need to do is I need to get it clear. So get rid of these low-level words. Odysseus is a brave man. Okay? So let's make sure that we keep it focused on bravery. But your opinion, your claim, has got to be clear. And here it isn't. Now, let's start to take a look at the evidence. So, last time I'm going to talk you through it, but here are the questions. Does this evidence prove this claim? So, when you read this evidence here, does it prove that he is brave? Well, if you have a steadfast heart, if there is no match, maybe. Now, is there better evidence out there to show bravery? Yes, but I can at least see where bravery came from. So we're okay there. Are the quotes correctly embedded? So what I'm going to look for here is, do I have small bits of quotes that are put inside the student's own summary? Well, what do you think? Yep, the quotes are correctly embedded here, including you have the he has in square brackets, which means the student knows how to change words inside the quote to make the grammar fit better. And finally, is the citation correct? Wah, wah. It's not, because what is in the wrong place? Period. Yeah. Guys, come on. The period goes at the end of the sentence. This is not a new rule. Please. Period at the end of the sentence. Can't believe I'm having to say that. Come on, guys. So let's go for our next one. Now, I have talked you through several of these writings that we've done together. So what I'm going to do this time is, you have the entire writing in front of you. So you have the claim and you have the evidence. I'm going to tell you right now that there are problems with either the claim, the evidence, or both. I'm now going to give you options. And in these options, you have to pick which one is the best. Now, as you're looking at these options that I give you, be very careful. And the first thing you should do is you should identify, where is each difference. Well, maybe this one has a period in a different place. Maybe this one has a quote that's longer. But you need to mark what each difference is. So what does C do that's different than A or B? D might have a big, huge bit of quote up front, and maybe it has a different citation in the end. But you need to identify what are the differences in each of the 4 choices. You then need to go through and decide, okay, what do I know that's wrong? Maybe one of these choices puts the period in the wrong place in the citation. Well, the minute you identify that one of the answer choices does something wrong, well, eliminate that. And eliminate until you can figure out which of the answer choices best shows this writing redone in correct form. So go and look at your choices. I hope this is the one that you picked, and let's talk about why. First of all, let's talk about the claim. Menelaus respects the gods and their rules. So this now has one clear direction, that we're looking at how Menelaus is respectful. When you have something like he's a good person, that's so generic, I don't quite know what you're trying to prove. And to say that he cares for the God's hospitality rule and he's a good person is far too complicated to be clear. So we know that this is not clear. It's too complex. And so this really focuses it in. Now, within the evidence itself, if you notice, I kept pretty much the evidence the same that the student used. But the big difference in this evidence versus some of your other options, including the way it's originally written, is this evidence uses these little bits of quotes inside a summary. When Menelaus hears that his servant has left strangers standing outside, he is irritated. And he scolds the servant, reminding him how they often feasted on the hospitality of other men when they were trying to get home from Troy. So this is correctly embedded now, because if I read it all together, these quotes don't stand out. They fit inside the sentence structure of the summary. And so everything fits together. And when I read it out loud, it all sounds like one sentence. So that's the best job of embedding. And finally, you have to have the correct citation. And that means you need to have the author's name. If you are reading the paper book, if you've gone to the library to get the paper book, you would have to have a page number in there. If you're looking at it online, you don't. But the big thing that none of you like doing, you have to have the period at the end. So this period has to go at the end. So hopefully this is the option that you picked when you tried to rewrite this. So are you ready for another one? Here you go. We are doing this one right here. Go look at your answer choices and you decide which one you think is best. Hopefully you did that one right. And let's take a look at one last one. This one is with Calypso. So what are you going to do in terms of choosing the best option to rewrite this? Okay. Again, I'm going to hope that you nailed that. So remember, when we are doing a claim, what are the rules? I'm looking for it to be an opinion. I'm looking for it to be reasonable. I'm looking for it to be clear. And when I say reasonable, I mean reasonable given the reading. Okay. When I'm looking for evidence, I am looking for it to provide clear proof of whatever the claim is. I am looking for evidence that is mostly summarized. I need to see that you're putting it in your own words. But I should also see embedded quotes. So I should see the little phrases that are tucked inside your own words. And of course, I need to see a citation. So I need to see a formal citation at the end with the author's last name. And please, 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 I beg you. I beg you. Period. At The end of the sentence. Okay, hopefully you guys are feeling a little bit better with claim and evidence.